This is one of the smallest lenses Canon ever made. Its focal length makes it very versatile, and its aperture of f2 opens up possibilities in low light situations. Today I'm gonna tell you 15 things about the Canon EF-M 22mm f2 STM lens. We're gonna start with physical aspects, and at the ending we're gonna go through image quality. Let's begin. Number 1. What's on the lens? First thing that catches the eye is the tiny front element. The glass, being this small, will probably take less accidental hits or scratches. On the back side of the lens, we see a metal mount, but without a weather sealing gasket. If you never saw one before, this is how a weather sealing gasket looks like on a lens that has one. Another thing that is made from metal is the focusing ring, that by the way turns very smoothly. Finally, indicated on the lens is the filter thread size of 43mm. These are the main things that are on the lens. Moving now to the second aspect, size and weight. This is a small lens. As you can see in the numbers on the screen, it is even smaller than the Canon's 40mm pancake lens. And if we look at the weight, this lens has only 103 grams. Third thing, focal length. This lens falls into the category of moderate wide-angle lenses, and it has a focal length of 22mm. Taking into consideration the sensor's crop factor of 1.6, the full frame equivalent of this lens is 35mm, making it very versatile in a lot of situations. Being wide but not too wide, you can use it for portraits, it's excellent for street photography, and it's also handy in tight places. There are quite a lot of advantages that come with this focal length. Number 4. Compatibilities. This lens will not work with DSLR cameras. It was made only for Canon's APS-C sensor mirrorless cameras. Fifth, maximum and minimum aperture values and the number of blades. The aperture can close at a maximum value of f22 and it has 7 blades. The minimum aperture value is at f2. This makes the lens useful in low light situations. Sixth, focusing. Also visible in the full name, the lens has an STM focusing motor that is completely silent, as you can hear. The lack of noise makes it very useful, especially for video shooters. If you want to hear how a noisy lens sounds like, this is it. The autofocus isn't very quick, but it has a decent speed. Another thing to mention here is that the lens can focus at a minimum distance of just 15 centimeters. That is very close, and oftentimes this feature will come in handy. 7th, image stabilization. This lens doesn't have image stabilization, so we must rely on faster shutter speeds, but thanks to its wide field of view, camera shake isn't that noticeable, so the lack of IS isn't a big issue. 8. Full-time manual focus, which means that you can manually focus while having autofocus turned on. To allow this, you only have to select the AF plus MF setting from the camera's menu. 9th. Superspectra coating and one aspherical lens element. This lens has Canon's superspectra coating that helps the lens maintain an accurate color balance and keeps a high contrast in bright light. It also has one aspherical lens element which is said to offer a high level in resolution and contrast. Before moving to image quality, it's good to mention that this is one of the smallest and lightest lenses that you can buy at your average camera store. It is easy to carry and to have it with you all the time if this is something that you want. I had a lot of fun using it with my Canon M100. The next 5 aspects are about testing the image quality. Let's start with sharpness. As we will see, with this lens we can get very good sharpness in the middle of the image even at the maximum aperture opening of f2. Let's now move in the corner of the image where things are a bit more challenging. At f2, the corners are still sharp, but definitely we can see some softness. Moving now to f4, getting better, but the sharpest corner performance we can see it at f5.6. At f11, due to diffraction, there is some softness. Closing now at f22, and diffraction softens this image too much. What you will always have for sure with this lens is very good sharpness in the middle of the image. Moving to distortion and vignetting. There is some good news here. This lens creates almost no distortion. As we can see, the lines are nice and straight. The bad news, those corners are very dark at f2. At f2.8 there is some improvement. The dark corners are pushed away, getting a bit better at f4, but not very pleasing. Let's switch on the peripheral illumination correction from the camera and start again. At f2, with the correction turned on, everything is looking better. This is f2.8, and now at f4 the image is evenly lit. Bright light performance. We do see some soft flaring, not such a good performance here, but I've seen worse. At least that annoying flaring goes away fast if the lens is not pointed directly at the light. Moving to close-up image quality. We are now at 15 centimeters from the subject, the minimum focusing distance of this lens. At f2, we have a decent amount of sharpness. Closing now at f2.5, and at f2.8 we have an excellent performance. Finally, bokeh. Because this lens is quite wide, the bokeh isn't very pleasing. As we can see, the background is quite visible, but if we get very close to the subject, the results are good. Bottom line, this is a small lens with a good image performance. If you have a mirrorless APS-C camera from Canon, this lens is a very good choice. If this video was useful for you, make sure to press that like button. There will be more reviews like this and special episodes with more photos made with the reviewed lenses. See you next time.